Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janaballabha Giridvaradhari. Gopi Janaballabha Giridvaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Gopi Janaballabha Giridvaradhari. Jai Gopi Janaballabha Giridvaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shabam Acharya Astatara Sutta Shishimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Shabam Zabhadaraj Acharya Stotra Sutta Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada Ki Go Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 25, Text 25. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Bhavanti hidkarna rasayana kata. Tajoshanarashvapa varga vartmani. Shraddharati bhakti anukramishyati. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata. Tajoshanarashvapa varga vartmani. Shraddharati bhakti anukramishyati. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata. Tajoshanarashvapa varga vartmani. Shraddharati bhakti anukramishyati. Vaishnavas, Sata of pure devotees. Prasangat, through the association. Mama, my. Virya, wonderful activities. Sangvida, by discussion of. Bhavanti, become. Brit, to the heart. Karna, to the ear. Rasa ayana, pleasing. Kata, the stories. Tat, of that. Joshanat, by cultivation. Asu, quickly. Apavarga, of liberation. Atmani, Vartmani, on the path. Shraddha, firm faith. Rati, attraction. Bhakti, devotion. Anukramishyati, will follow in order. Translation. This is Lord Kapila Dev speaking to Devamrita. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path to liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Purport. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees. Because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter. And unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there's no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature, wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees. And by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. Only one who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops a consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. Translation again. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and therefore he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Om Agana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaura Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in the previous verse, Lord Kapila Dev has exhorted his mother to seek out the association of devotees. That first should be understood. And then in this verse, Lord Kapila Dev is describing the benefits from associating with devotees. Now, one thing that we'll cover briefly is that, yes, the association of devotees. Many persons should rise to that point. But then again, the fine print, as pointed out by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is that the effect of that association with devotees depends on the quality of the devotees. So different levels of devotees produce different levels of effect in sadhu sangha. But first, one needs to seek out the association of devotees. Because then, according to the quality of that association, the attraction of the mind to the Supreme Personality of Godhead will develop. It's a fundamental point of human existence that human beings are creatures of association. They take on the qualities, desires, goals, and dreams, aspirations, inclinations, proclivities of those they associate with, whether they like it or not. As everyone should know, everyone here that is, by association with materialistic persons, your heart becomes infiltrated with material desires. Material desires start to seem normal to you. And often when devotees who have slackened in their sadhana and, as they say, lost the plot, you can see, you can hear that they cannot any longer discriminate between material activities and spiritual activities. It all becomes one in terms of, well, everything is all right, everything is okay. I'm okay, you're okay. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would stir us up and provoke us. I remember back in the 70s, there was a very popular book, I'm okay, you're okay. It's probably still a popular book. Or at least that theme is quite widespread. I'm okay, you're okay. So Srila Prabhupada made a point, speaking in Los Angeles, California, the land of pseudo-spirituality. He made a point to say, our point is, we are okay, you are not okay. Doesn't sound very non-sectarian, does it? We're okay, you're not okay. Of course, one makes such judgments based on compassion, not false ego. The compassionate Vaishnava thinks that I would be worse off than these non-devotees if some devotee hadn't shown compassion upon me. So let's go over this verse in more detail because it's a keynote verse. It's a very important verse for revealing the dynamics of what causes spiritual advancement. And the converse, if you don't have this, how can there be spiritual advancement? So you should always remember that Lord Chaitanya's gift for this most deadly age of Kali is that you can easily realize Krishna by congregationally hearing and chanting. Sankirtan means togetherness glorifying Krishna. So if you don't take advantage of this benediction by Lord Chaitanya, then where are we in this dense desert of Kali Yuga? So satam prasangan mama virya samvado. Satam. The translation begins, in the association of pure devotees. Now, sometimes devotees who get lost in the world of fault finding and internet controversies and issues. Are you for this? Are you against that? What's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? Sometimes they forget that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada describes a pure devotee in a way that you might be surprised. He says, even a neophyte who understands that Krishna is the same as his name is a pure devotee. So in other words, there's a whole spectrum of being a pure devotee. Due to our impersonal conditioning, we tend to think of love as one-dimensional. Do you love me or do you not? And we tend to think of love in terms of physiology and psychology. When you start studying Nectar of Devotion, and this year, the forthcoming 5 volumes of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you'll see that there's a whole spectrum of love, real love, bhakti. So don't be surprised by the statement that even a neophyte who understands that Krishna is the same as his name is classified as a pure devotee. There's a whole spectrum, a whole range of what it means to be a pure devotee, what is pure bhakti. So the acharyas explain that if the association of devotees is of an inferior quality, you'll get to the stage of bhajana kriya, rendering devotional service. You know, the steps, ado shraddha, tata sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya. These steps, by the way, are not the only way to systematize the progressive development of bhakti, but it's the most popular one. The acharyas, Jiva Goswami points that out. It's not the only way. There are many steps, he points out, but this is the most popular conception. So first, adau shraddha, faith. What does that mean, faith? Does it mean like, well, I associate with some devotees and then I start believing, yeah, the blue boy, sure. Or yeah, I think we're not the body. Actually, shraddha, faith, the first step, which is produced in the association of devotees, means faith in the purports of the Shastra, not some vague belief that, yeah, I kind of think Krishna exists and I kind of understand we're not the body. And faith in the purports of the Shastra. That means you have to know something about the Shastra. At the same time, in its very minimal stage, in its very seed-like stage of development, shraddha, faith, can be, as Prabhupada described in Australia, if a book distributor hands someone one of Prabhupada's books, and the distributor takes the person takes the book in their hand and says, nice, but not today. Hands the book back. That momentary slightest appreciation is enough to give them a human form of life in the next birth. It's the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. The faintest scent of Shraddha is enough. It's enough to give them a human form of life. So whenever you approach someone with a book, you can make sure, as much as possible, they take it in hand and give a favorable reaction. So that is the slightest category, or the slightest trace of Shraddha, faith, the first step. But more developed Shraddha, faith, means what you read, you accept. So that's the first level of real faith, Shraddha. And the next level, first level is caused by sadhu sangha, association with devotees. Next level, step 2, level 2 is also caused by the association of devotees. You inquire about engaging in devotional service, bhajana kriya, and you engage yourself in service with your mind and body, your mind and senses. What is the use without engagement in service? Whether you are liberated or not liberated, service is the key. Actually, this verse is leading you at the end towards service in the spiritual world. That's why, in case you may have been wondering, if you were paying attention, Lord Kapila Dev ends by saying, then real devotion and devotional service begin. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. And thereafter, he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So actually, full-blown bhakti, real bhakti, you might say, begins after liberation. This is why bhakti yogis don't pay so much attention or don't give any glorification to liberation, moksha, mukti. Bhakti is beyond freedom from material existence. So Lord Kapila Dev is pointing out, then real devotion and devotional service begin in your spiritual body, in your relationship with Krishna. So by the association of devotees, at least you get the first 2 levels, according to your capacity, your desire, and according, you have to not forget that in the mix is the quality of that devotee association, the quality of that sadhu sangha, the quality of the sadhus. So first you accept the purport of the Shastra, and then you engage yourself in the process of devotional service. If, the acharyas point out, that association with devotees is of a high caliber, then you not only get bhajana kriya, but anartha nivritti. Those monsters in the heart start to go away. So often, we're doing 2 things. We're urging people to associate with devotees, and then we have to urge our own devotees to elevate their consciousness so that in their association, the talks about Krishna will reveal their full potential. So that puts the responsibility firmly on us to advance in bhakti so that by our association, persons get the maximum benefit possible. Now, loosely we say, devotee, this is a devotee, that's a devotee. But at the same time, while being merciful, we must drill down and make judgments. And that's considered a no-no in today's culture. Don't judge. Everyone is all the same. That's not what Nectar of Instruction, Sri Upadeshamrita points out. That you should recognize different levels of devotees and respond accordingly. Someone may be a fallen devotee. So you offer them mental respects, and so on and so forth, according to the stature of the devotee. That is not being in Maya. You're supposed to discriminate. See who is fully engaged in Krishna service. See who is carrying out the mission of Lord Chaitanya. You're supposed to discriminate like that. So once you get past the stage of anartha nivritti, freedom from the unwanted things, then quickly the other stages start to come. Nishta, you become fixed in service because the anarthas have diminished, and that allows you more scope, more energy for bhakti. And then ruchi, taste, talks about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna become very pleasurable. It's always pleasurable, even from the beginning. But as we advance past the stage of anartha nivritti, freedom from unwanted things, the pleasure of hearing and chanting magnifies. But still, even in the most neophyte stage, there's pleasure in chanting, especially congregationally. That is Lord Chaitanya's prescribed method. How to access the spiritual platform in this dense darkness of the age of Kali. So the chanting and dancing is not some kind of folk ritual, something we do just to express our belief, something we do just to move our bodies, romp around a bit. The chanting is very scientific. The highest science, the highest spiritual science. Let us not be Mayavadis, impersonalists, who think that the chanting and dancing is sentimental or a religious activity that we put up with. This is what especially the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi thought of Lord Chaitanya's chanting and dancing. They thought, what is he doing? He's a sannyasi. He should be studying Vedanta. Of course, when they say studying Vedanta, it means the commentary by Shankaracharya and his cohorts, Shariraka Bhashya and so on and so forth. A concoction, a distortion of Vedanta. So they were looking at Lord Chaitanya in that way, as Lord Chaitanya chanted and danced in Varanasi. What's wrong with him? He's supposed to belong to our Mayavad school. He took sannyas from Keshava Bharati. He's in the line of Mayavad. Why isn't this Chaitanya, why isn't he just studying Vedanta all day and talking about Brahman? Instead, he's chanting and dancing with a bunch of fanatics. Prakashananda Saraswati, the leader of such impersonalists, said, anyway, this is Varanasi. Such sentimentality can't be much in demand. So this congregational chanting is so scientific that it can produce from within its midst the highest levels of bhakti. That's why in one poem that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, he says that within the kirtan, you can realize your swarup, your constitutional loving relationship with Krishna. And only then can you go off on your own and cultivate your Swarup. But first, within the kirtan, you realize your constitutional relationship with Krishna. Very interesting. Sometimes devotees wonder, how will I know what my relationship with Krishna is? Well, it's easy for everyone. Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas. We are the eternal servants of Krishna. Dasya Prem, servitude, is the foundation of all the higher or other rasas. There's no question of higher or lower, but as Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami explained, looking at things from an objective point of view, there's the topmost, Madhurya Ras, and then Vatsalya Prem, parental love, Sakya Ras, friendship. But how can you look objectively? You are what you are. You're looking through the lens that you are. But somehow or other, the acharyas have detached themselves from their particular rasa to point out that the higher rasas include the flavors and tastes of the other rasas. So in Madhurya Ras, you have all the flavors of the preceding, so to speak, preceding rasas. So in that way, they explain how Madhurya Ras is the most complete with all the flavors. So let us understand the full benefits of not only chanting and dancing, but also hearing about Krishna. Don't approach Srimad Bhagavatam in a mechanical way. You're sitting here in class is not because you have to show your face. You're sitting here in class is a participation in the activity of loving Krishna. And that's what Lord Kapil Dev is pointing out. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. So you continue coming to Bhagavatam class, hearing Bhagavatam class, because the doctor has prescribed that medicine, but gradually the heart takes over and you become spontaneously attracted to hearing about Krishna, talking about Krishna. And then, Tasjoshnat Ashrapavarga Vartmani, the doorway to liberation swings wide open. But the bhaktas don't pay attention to the doorway to liberation swinging wide open. They pay attention to where is the service, where is the devotional service. Because if I have devotional service, I have the spiritual world. So, as Srila Prabhupada would often describe, the Mukti lady, liberation personified, is knocking on the devotee's door. Let me in, let me in. But the devotee is too busy in devotional service to open the door. Impersonalists can't understand this. Liberation is attained after countless births. And you Vaishnavas say that just by a dim reflection of chanting Hare Krishna purely, you can be free from material existence? Remember what happened in that dialogue with Gopal Chakravarti at the home of Raghunath Das? The father and uncle of Raghunath Das were extremely wealthy, and they would host at their home meetings to discuss Vaishnava topics. And so in the process of one of those meetings, the discussion came up. What were the issues that came up? Sometimes our devotees love Some of them love flocking to issues. What's the latest? Who's against this? Who's for that? What's the latest controversy? But at the home of Raghunath Das, very extremely wealthy home, the issue came up. How can chanting Hare Krishna lead to liberation? And so there was discussion back and forth. There was no internet then, thank God. Of course, everything can be used and misused in Krishna service, but people are starting to realize more and more these days that the internet causes more harm than good. So that's why in Australia, they just passed a law restricting social media usage to those above 16, as if that's going to make a big difference in the ocean of degradation that is Kali Yuga. So at the home of Raghunath Das, you can read about this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. They had the issue of what is the effect of chanting Hare Krishna? So some said you become free from sinful reactions. Others said you become liberated. So back and forth it went, the discussion. And no conclusion. So everyone turned to Haridas Thakur, who happened to be present. And Haridas Thakur explained that the true effect of chanting Hare Krishna is not liberation, is not freedom from sinful reactions. The true effect is love of Krishna. As for liberation, he pointed out, just a dim reflection of pure chanting, not even the stage of pure chanting will bring you freedom from material existence. So one very handsome, successful young man, Gopal Chakravarti, who was puffed up and a dry impersonalist, objected. Wait a minute. Great sadhus, yogis, sannyasis perform austerities severely for countless lifetimes to attain liberation. And are you trying to tell me that just by a dim reflection of chanting Hare Krishna, not even pure chanting, but a dim reflection of pure chanting, you get liberation? Because Haridas Thakur had explained what? That when the sun first rises, first the rays of the sun, the first rays of dawn manifest in the sky. And just that manifestation of the first rays of the sun is enough to produce reactions. Thieves go hide, birds wake up, people start waking up, even though the sun is not fully out yet. Similarly, in the stage of Namabas, getting near pure chanting, but not there yet. Still, in that stage, you get freedom from material existence. So Gopal Chakravarti couldn't handle this. Impossible. Who can believe this? Just by saying Hare Krishna and Rama, you get liberation, even in the non-perfect stage of chanting. What you might wonder, what happens in the perfect stage of chanting? The flow of love of Krishna in your relationship with Krishna. So this Gopal Chakravarti was so rude, so offensive. He challenged Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya. He said, if what you're saying is not true, may your nose fall off. And the whole assembly was aghast. How could he say that to Haridas Thakur? We're We're at a place where Vaishnava Aparad is happening. They were very conscious that in this home, in this meeting, we are witness to Vaishnava Aparad. We have to do something. So there was an uproar. The Haridas Thakur said, don't worry, don't worry. He didn't take it personally. But the Vaishnavas in the audience, they took it very personally. Immediately, because this Gopal Chakravarti worked as a tax collector for Raghunath Das's father and uncle. Immediately the father and uncle, they dismissed him. You're fired. We don't want you on our payroll. And so the meeting ended. So the point is that just by hearing about Krishna and discussing Krishna in the association of qualified devotees, the doorway to liberation swings wide open. But more important is what comes next. He's freed, yes, mukti, but more importantly, his attraction becomes fixed. So, Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukramishyati, this verse ends. Shraddha, in that case, in that usage in this verse, means asakti, attachment for Krishna, which then brings you to the next stage. Remember, Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukramishyati. So, Shraddha, in that context, means asakti, attachment to Krishna. And then rati means bhava, preliminary stage of love of Krishna. Shraddha Rati Bhakti, and then bhakti in that context means praying. So in this way, you can see how necessary is the association of devotees. But more than that, qualitative association, because the response of the katha is linked to the quality of the association of those the quality of those participating in the katha session. That means each one of us has a responsibility to elevate ourselves so that, yes, have discussions of Krishna katha, have kirtan, but so much depends for further development on the quality of that association. Any questions? Yes.
I was just wondering, we're meant to discriminate, and you're saying compassion, although sometimes it's hard to know what is happening in one's heart, and there's also one's favorite. I mean, there appear that in terms of appreciation, as well, I would
expect a different experience by association with different devotees. Be practical. For example, not everyone who's married loves their spouse. But you say, well, at least they're married and they're trying to follow some Vedic process. But what about the quality of the relationship? That's another thing. So many persons may be described as devotees, but as for the quality of their service, that's another thing. But at least you can look for being fixed in devotional service. What are we without devotional service? Are we a religious belief cult? Yeah, I believe in Krishna. What do you do? You believe? Yeah, okay. Finished. Our work is done. This is devotional service organization. So look for that. focus, that dedication to rendering devotional service. Somehow or other, that show must go on. That's the real show, the real thing. You know the definition of Kanishta Adhikari, third-class devotee, Prakriti Bhakta, materialistic devotee. Still a devotee, but very slight grip on bhakti. Nevertheless, a Kanishta Adhikari recognizes the importance of the deity in the temple. He or she just doesn't understand how to associate with devotees and the need for a quality association. Of course, here at Radha Giridhari's temple, I've heard we have more than enough pujaris. Is that true? Is the head pujari listening? We have more than enough. What was the answer? No. You're the head pujari? Who says yes? Achyuta Bhava, Devi? Many pujaris. I remember there was a time, maybe 25 years ago. I remember because I was in here at Radha Giridhari's temple in one form or another, and the temple was up at the front since 1994. I remember the temple presidents were begging, praying, send us some Kanishta Adhikaris. At least they recognize the importance of the deity in the temple. Where are they? Where are the third-class devotees, the Prakriti Bhaktas? But ideally, we want everyone on the Madhyam platform, which is a big range, Madhyam Adhikari. Someone who knows how to distinguish between devotees, non-devotees, the innocent, the malicious, and who is dedicated, someone who's dedicated to carrying out the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you be friendly with everyone. Someone like you has no problem, right? You know how to be friendly with everyone, bubbly, lively. But you're looking for those who are attached to devotional service. Attachment to devotional service is, of course, based on hearing and chanting, and then the desire to carry out the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Doesn't mean you scorn everyone else. You're not going on Sankirtan. I'm not associating with you. At the same time, you're looking for the association of those who are nishta, fixed. Because then there can be ruchi, taste in chanting and hearing about Krishna. Yes.
You mentioned that a neophyte who understands that Krishna and his name are the same.
That's what Chaitanya Charitamrita says.
I was wondering what is the behavior activities of this person look like?
They're at least a human being. They follow the four rules. They don't have much knowledge at all of the Shastra. But somehow or other they have this conviction. Krishna is there as his name. Let me chant Hare Krishna. They don't know much. Haven't read Bhagavatam, haven't read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Don't understand scientifically the import of devotional service. Because, hey, let me go to the temple. It's Sunday. I'll contribute something to temple construction project. Nice. But no understanding. Some or other, at least for now, they're doing the right thing. But their path of ascent in bhakti will be very difficult because of no knowledge. That's why we're asking those who want to do puja in the temple, they have to have bhakti shastri knowledge. We don't want brahmanas who just wear a string around their shoulder. Anything else? Yes, way in the back, that Jagatpati.
Very nicely summarize what different stages of Bhakti were up to Bob and Frank. I was wondering if you could explain the same practically what that looks like.
What looks like?
What the stages of Bob and Frank.
You'll read in Nectar of Devotion that the stage of bhava, preliminary love of Krishna, has 9 characteristics. You've read Nectar of Devotion? You remember the 9 characteristics? Attraction for living in a holy place, making sure time is not wasted, so on and so forth. Everything, as Rupa Goswami presents, is very scientific. Prem has further degrees, but Rupa Goswami doesn't talk much about that in Nectar Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He leaves that for Ujjwala Nilamani because it's a very exalted subject matter, the various levels of Krishna Prem. Sneha, so on, Mahabhava, the highest level. Good to know these things, but understand that subject matter we hold above our heads. Most devotees now need to focus on anartha nivritti, which takes some time. Getting rid of the unwanted things in the heart. Then there can be nishta, then you can be fixed. And then there's ruchi, taste, pleasure in executing, hearing, and chanting about Krishna. But still, you should understand that the stage of anartha nivritti, getting rid of the unwanted things in the heart, is not the ultimate. Sometimes we think, oh, that's it. If I can just get rid of these monsters in my heart, that'll be it. No, that's only the beginning. Therefore, Lord Kapila Dev says at the end of the verse, then real life begins, real service begins in your relationship with Krishna. All right. Is this on the class or something else?
It's another verse
It's not on the class.
regarding how do we get a spiritual body.
It's already there in an unmanifest condition, like a seed has not sprouted yet into a plant.
Should we be selective on attending Srimad Bhagavatam class according to the advancement of the
No. You could turn that around and say, should we be restrictive in Bhagavatam class? Who comes according to the level of the hearer? We go to Bhagavatam class in the beginning out of duty. We take the doctor's prescription. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. As much as possible every day, we hear Srimad Bhagavatam one way or the other because it's required. But then gradually you get a taste because you've been fixed in carrying out the order of Lord Chaitanya, which is before you are liberated, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and after you are liberated, go on hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And then even if you're hearing from some young devotee, Krishna, if the devotee is sincere, Krishna is still present to some degree. Krishna is independent. He doesn't say, oh, it's a young devotee giving Bhagavatam class, I won't appear. Krishna can do what he wants. Still, at the same time, it's true that you'll get more benefit by hearing from a more advanced devotee. Just like last night, I was very happy to hear from our brahmacharis of the results of their going to the Dham, Mayapur Dham, Vrindavan Dham. We try to send them at least every other year. That's the result for the pain and torture of being a brahmachari. Missing out on all the delights. All we can do is bribe them with a trip to Mayapur and Vrindavan every other year to reward them for their severe austerities. Imprisoned in the ashram, not having the freedom. So they were telling me all the different speakers they heard of from in Mayapur, Vrindavan, the different seminars they attended. I was very happy to hear that. They understand how to use trips to the Dham to associate with saintly persons. And they understood that when I go to Mayapur, Vrindavan, there's often devotees ask, when are you going to lead a yatra in Vrindavan? When are you going to have a parikrama in Mayapur? But that's my time for associating with my godbrothers. Because down under, Australia, New Zealand, not so many Prabhupada disciples anymore. And those of us still here are leaving rapidly. So I try to use my presence in Mayapur and Vrindavan for associating with my godbrothers. And what do? Satam prasangam mamavirya sambhado. We hear and chant about Krishna. Anything else? Yes. Because what was the last one? It's more than a philosophical difference. He was an offensive Mayavadi. And he couldn't believe them. He obviously had some attraction to attending sadhu sangha sessions, but he brought his Mayavad conceptions with him, and they were so strongly embedded in him that he couldn't tolerate hearing what Haridas Thakur said. It's too much. You can, God, are you for real? Can you believe what you're saying? And Gopal Chakravarti was so convinced that he was able to just make such a curse. May your nose fall off. And later, his nose fell off due to leprosy. Haridas Thakur didn't take it personally. He understood this person is a victim of Mayavad. Yes. patient and tolerant with your own shortcomings. Be progressive. Recognize I have these shortcomings. I'm begging the Supreme Personality of Godhead, please help me over these shortcomings. Recognizing we have shortcomings is half the way to victory. Seeing the enemy is half the way to victory. So I was just reading on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day. He said that when you're chanting Hare Krishna and mundane thoughts come to your mind, don't flip out. Just go on chanting and gradually it'll all the debris will subside. Sometimes we're chanting and mundane thoughts come to our mind. We think, oh no, what's the use? Go on chanting. Krishna's impressed by determination. As I often explain at initiation yajnas, chanting Hare Krishna is a lifetime career. It's a lifetime of progressive development. It's simple, 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama, but it's a lifetime for going into the depths of chanting Hare Krishna. And especially, the more you try to give Krishna to others, the more Krishna wants to give himself to you. So participation in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission brings about increasing development of attachment for the holy name. First, serve Gauranga in Dasya, servitude. That's the portal through which serving Radha and Krishna opens up to you. The most effective portal to Radha and Krishna is not serving them directly. It's very difficult, very risky. But by going through Gauranga Mahaprabhu as a servant, because you can only serve Lord Chaitanya in Dasya as a servant. No question of being his friend or his parent or being his lover. There's no question of that. But through servitude to Lord Chaitanya, that's the gateway to Radha and Krishna. Got it? Okay, stick to it. Yes.
Mentioned here in the book also how, according to the degree of our advancement, we do our association with those who aren't devotees, or even other devotees, we then either more benefit from association.
Still, Krishna is independent. Prabhupada used to glorify a 5-year-old daughter of a devotee who would go up to people and say, do you know who Krishna is? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada said, that's big preaching.
For us who, those of us who are preaching, we may not have made a lot of advancement. How can we actually affect some change in the hearts of people? Also, simultaneously, their activities, which most young people today are so degrading, seems to be the adverse effect on whatever advancement they're making. And also,
The heart of someone doing outreach is always crying out, Krishna, please deliver them. Please let me do something so that they'll understand their precarious position in the grip of material nature and their need for Krishna's service. So within the heart, there's always that crying out by the Sankirtan devotee, the preacher, the outreacher. Just like Prabhupada expressed his heart in a most exemplary way in the prayer, Markine Bhagavat Dharma. That teaches you how to invest your heart into outreach. Oh, Krishna, how will they ever be Krishna conscious? But I know that by your will they're in Maya, so by your will they can come out of Maya. Still, he was expressing his heart that how will they ever be Krishna conscious? And that was 1960, 65. Such a yuga. What if he had decided, no, they're too fallen. I'll just get off the boat to Jaladuta in New York and go back to India. Where would I have been? And as we were discussing last night with the brahmacharis, Prabhupada honestly said he thought no one would pay attention to him, but he's carrying out the order of his Guru Maharaj. He thought no one will listen. As soon as I say no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, they'll say, go home, go back to India. He really thought there'll never be any, no one will listen, but I have to try. He said his godbrothers decades ago had made some slight attempt in London, slight attempt, and failed. So he thought, Prabhupada thought, he said, let me go to New York, I'll fail in a different place. The success of the devotee doing outreach is in the effort. That's where the real success is. We like scores, of course. So-and-so did so many book points, ki jai. We've achieved our goals in millions of Bhagavad Gita distribution, ki jai. That's all necessary. But the highest success is noted by the super soul in the heart, who's watching your effort. How to deal with these increasingly bewildered people. I was discussing in Australia how a recent government survey just a couple of months ago in the UK. Anyone here from the UK? Bhagavan, who else? Sukanti Radha Devi. What is the loneliest age group in the UK? You would think elderly people, their children have abandoned them or don't care about them, and they're divorced, they're living alone in their 60s and 70s. They must be the loneliest age group. No, it's those between 18 and 30. Shocking. Between the age of 18 and 30, that's the loneliest age group in the UK, which indicates what's going on in other first world countries. The social media is supposed to enliven everyone and make relationships so easy. It's done the opposite. So now you have those between the age of 18 and 30 merged in their screens and more lonely than ever. The promise of the Western world to deliver satisfaction has totally fractured. It's always been an illusion, but now it's becoming more and more obvious. It's not working out. So the heart of someone doing outreach is always crying out, Krishna, this is impossible, but we have to try. I remember when you first were coming along in Bhakti, had this suspicious, skeptical look on your face. Remember? He was an almighty chemical engineer, right? Knows everything, except what you should know. So I was praying to Krishna how to reach this boy. At the loft, every Sunday, Manjuranya Devi brings me persons, or Sankashan Ram also, persons to talk to. And before they bring them into the room, I'm praying to Krishna. How can I touch their hearts? All we can do is try. All right. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. He was the loneliest 18. Are you 30 yet? Oh, it's you're out of the loneliest.